Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Rocket Chiro podcast, a business and marketing podcast for chiropractors. My name's Jerry. I am your host. I am a former chiropractor. I help chiropractors now with websites and local SEO. I help new chiropractors get started. I help stuck chiropractors get unstuck, and I host this little podcast. Today, we're going to talk about why you get so many people to your website and so few of them become new patients. This is a question that I was asked multiple times this week by multiple different people. I don't know if there's something in the water. I don't know if I said something on my other podcast that made people look, but what people have discovered is that they get a lot of volume on their website relative to the number of new patients, and some chiropractors are bothered by this. And so we're going to unpack this a little bit, talk about why that is, and we're going to talk about some of the mistakes that people make with their chiropractic website. And hopefully this will give you guys a proper perspective when evaluating your stats, and it'll also give you some ideas of how to avoid some of the common mistakes that chiropractors make with their websites. Now, before I get into that, I do want to say, if you would like me to help you with your chiropractic website, go to Rocket Chiro and reach out to me through there. If you'd like me to help you get more patients from Google Maps, whether you're an existing website client or not, I can help you with that. If you're an existing client, you do get a little bit of a discount because you're an existing client, but if you're not, we can still work together. Totally fine, totally cool. If you are getting started or you're feeling stuck as a chiropractor, check out my Next Step program. It's a great way to go beyond the podcast, get some additional content, get some additional contact with me, get some help along the way, and get started on the right foot or get unstuck. It's just sucks when you're in that starting or stuck phase because you're just wasting a lot of money. It's really emotionally stressful, and Next Step is designed to sort of help you get out of that. So all that can be found at rocketchiro.com. If you would just like me to look at your website and SEO, I do that with my website and SEO review. I do it absolutely free. I look at your stuff specifically and give you some recommendations. There's no obligation with that. I don't pressure people when I do those, and most people are just really blown away by the amount of content and value that they get by doing that. So if you're interested in just having me look at your stuff because you're not really sure if you want to work together, if you're not really sure what you need, reach out to me and request a website and SEO review. I'll be happy to look at your stuff. All right. So, a couple different people reach out to me. One of them was a website client. One of them was a former Next Step member. The former Next Step member, I basically just said, hey, you're kind of thinking about all of this wrong, and here's some things that you should think about. The website client, I sort of had the same conversation, but I also went above and beyond, and we talked about some things that we could tweak and change on his specific website because I do manage his website. And some of the stuff he said, I thought, you're probably right. Let's make some changes. Let's make some tweaks. Let's see if we can make the changes to start getting more of those people to become new patients. Because what I don't want to do even through this podcast, I don't want you guys to listen to this and just be like, oh, sucks. A lot of people visit, not a lot of people schedule. Must be nothing I can do about it. You want to make sure that you're doing the best you can. You want to make sure that you're constantly trying to improve your situation. But you also don't want to have unrealistic expectations. If you expect everybody that visits your website, or even if you expect 50% of people to visit your website to call your office or schedule an appointment, that is hysterically inaccurate. Like, that is not even close to what is going to happen. And you're just going to be frustrated. And I don't care if you have the world's greatest chiropractic website made by the world's greatest chiropractic website maker. No, I'm just kidding. It's not me. Maybe it is me. I don't know. But even if you do, there's no possible way you're going to get a 50% conversion on cold traffic. Like, that's not going to happen. And in fact, the guy that got a hold of me that wasn't my website client, he threw out the number of 6% based on his calculations and whatnot. And I told him, I said, if you're getting 6% on cold traffic, that's considered good. And I know this from before I started Rocket Chiro. I was doing some info products, and I was working with affiliates, and I was trying to make some money with doing some different stuff. And I would have given one of my kidneys up for 3% conversion. Like, I had a really hard time getting my landing pages and getting my affiliate stuff to convert at a high number. Like, it was way lower than 3%. And the amount of money that I would have made or could have made if I would have just got to 3%, it would have been tens of thousands of dollars. And if I could have got to 6%, holy smokes, you guys wouldn't know me. I would be living somewhere else, doing other things, spending my money. So 6% would be great in a lot of cases. Now, if you're going somewhere, and this is going to be my first point, we're going to talk about the difference between cold traffic and warm traffic. If you're going out in your community and you're shaking babies and kissing hands, or kissing hands and shaking babies, or shaking hands and kissing babies, whatever. If you're going out into your community and you're eye to eye with people, you're answering questions, you're talking to them, and 6% of those people are becoming patients, that's probably a really, really, really egregiously low number. If a bunch of people are referred to you, like you have 100 people referred to you and only 6 of them become new patients, that's an egregiously low number. That's absolutely atrocious. And so if someone is a warm lead, if someone knows you because they followed you on Instagram, if somebody knows you because you have a reputation built up in the local community, if somebody knows you because they have a friend that goes to you, or whatever that happens to be, if there's a certain level of trust and warmth that is within that person and those people you're converting at single digits, that's a really, really bad sign. But generally, when you're talking about website traffic, you're dealing with cold traffic. You're dealing with people that found you through Google Maps, and found you through ads, and found you through randomness, not necessarily people that have any sort of connection to you at all. That traffic converts at a really, really low rate. And so it's important that you understand the difference. And so the next thing we'll kind of talk about here is that website traffic does not equal prospective patients. And this is the other thing wrong with looking at raw numbers. If you're just going to look at your website and say, man, I got 1,000 visitors this month and I only got 20 new patients, you're assuming those 1,000 visitors were potential patients. They could be bots. They could be people that accidentally found your website or clicked on your website for the wrong reason. It could be people that are out of your area. It could be competitors. It could be your own family. It could be existing patients that are looking for hours, or just, whatever. There's a lot of reasons why you might have really high numbers on your website and not have high new patient numbers that have nothing to do even with what we're talking about, which is like the natural kind of funnel and 94% of people not choosing you. That might not be the case at all, because there could be half of that number are not even potential patients. They're not within driving distance. They're not ready to become patients. They were never going to become patients. So it's sort of a bad number. Now, it is a little bit different if you are doing ads, or if you're doing specific advertising, and you can track the specific pathway someone is taking into your practice or into your website, and then through to your new patient scheduler, or whatever that happens to be. There are ways that you can track specific traffic because you've sort of set up that pathway. But that's not looking at your gross numbers. Looking at your gross numbers is a really, really bad way to go about figuring out conversion, because you're assuming that those people are all potential new patients, and they're just not. They're just not. That's just the simple answer. The other thing to understand is that the conversion pathway for your practice, like someone going from non-patient to patient, it's not linear. Now, it could be linear if you're only doing online scheduling. Like if the only thing you're doing, people can't call, people can't text, people can't DM you, people can't message you on Facebook. They can't do any of that stuff to get an appointment. They can't walk in. They can do none of that. They have to use your online scheduler. If that's the case, then it's right to assume that all those new patients you got this month, they all went to your website. That's the correct assumption, because it makes sense. But if you're doing any of those other things, like people call you, people direct message you, then the numbers that you're looking at from a new patient standpoint, that's not even an accurate number anyway, because you may have 20 new patients and 1,000 website visitors, and you're assuming that those 20 people went on your website and they're not even part of the 1,000. So once again, and I'm just kind of beating this point to death, it's a terrible way to look at conversion and sort of track your numbers as a chiropractor by looking at those raw numbers, because there's a lot of assumptions baked into that, and those assumptions are not correct. Now, here's a volume reality check. This is what this may look like. So I kind of just wrote this down so you can kind of have an idea, not to depress anybody, but just to kind of have an idea what would be considered relatively normal. Let's say you have 500 visitors on your website. 3% of those people click on your schedule now or book an appointment, new patients start here, whatever. They go to your new patient page. That's going to be 15 out of out of 500. Then if you have a 50% of people that actually follow through with scheduling their actual appointment, now you're looking at 7 or 8 people. And if 75% of those people become patients, meaning that they actually, they don't cancel beforehand, they come to their first appointment, they start care. And for some people that number's low, some people it's high. I'm just kind of giving you some random numbers. Out of 500 visitors, now you're looking at 5 to 6 new patients. And that's not failing. That's just math. Like, that's just how it is. Like, that doesn't mean your website sucks. It could it be better? Maybe. Could it be worse? Yes. 100%. Absolutely. There are chiropractors that get 500, 600, 700 visitors on their website. They don't get a single patient ever from the internet. And there's a lot of different reasons for that, but that happens. It's possible you could get 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 visits to your website. If you want to get really depressed about your new patient numbers, look at your Google Business Profile numbers. A lot of times the Google Business Profile numbers are higher than the actual website. And so you may look at your Google Business Profile and be like, holy cow, we have 1,800 people that visited our Google Business Profile and we have 10 new patients. How's that even possible? And then you look at your website and you go, oh, well, it's 1,000 or whatever, 1,200. So a lot of times the Google Business Profile numbers can be worse. It's just sort of the way it is. Now, that does not mean you don't work on conversion. You could do things to your Google Business Profile to make it more appealing. And this is a drum that I beat all the time. And I feel like I'm the only one that's talking about this, that at least designs websites for chiropractors. Everybody wants to talk about search. They want to talk about being found, being found, being found, being found. Well, if you're being found and nobody's choosing you, it's not really all that helpful. When I do the website and SEO reviews for chiropractors, the practice assessments, when I do those, I'm always trying to answer 2 questions. Is this chiropractor being found? And then what do people do when they find the chiropractor? Now, obviously I can't look at numbers like raw numbers, but I do understand human beings pretty well. And I understand what patients typically do when they visit a website. And when I see a website that's set up a certain way, I go, this website doesn't convert. Like, I just know it doesn't. I don't have to look at the numbers to know it doesn't. I know it doesn't. And so I don't want any of those people to assume like, well, it's just the way it is. We got tons of people that visit our Google Business Profile. There's nothing we can do. There are some things you could do, and we'll talk about that last. This is how we'll wrap this up. So what are things you can do to convert, to help with conversion? We're specifically talking about the website here, not the Google Business Profile. It's probably a different conversation. But so when it comes to the website, simplify and organize your website. There is an epidemic of clutter in chiropractic websites. Most of them look like absolute garbage. And there's just so much. They just think more is more is more is more. Even chiropractic website builders that I used to refer to, I look at some of their sites now and I go, gosh, they're so cluttered. It's so bad, because when people are presented with clutter, you're hoping they make the decision you want them to make, and you haven't. It's sort of like dropping somebody in the middle of the woods and there's no clear path. Like, you could just hope they find their way out. But you know what would make it easier? Like, put some markers on the trees, like make a little path. Make an obvious direction for them to go. Chiropractic websites don't do that. They drop people into the middle of the woods, and there's just, everything looks the same. There's just crap everywhere, and it's just like, oh well, hope they find their way into the office. Like that's just a dumb way to go about any sort of sales process. And so there should be a simplified, organized website. It should be easy on the eyes. I'm not telling you to pull all the content off your website. Content's great, but it should be presented in such a way that it's easy on the eyes. I started thinking about this a lot the first time I read this guy. He does sales books. His name's Jeffrey Gitomer, and he wrote this book called The Little Red Book of Selling. And then there's like the little gold book of this, the little platinum book of that. Like that's sort of his thing. Like he's got this like theme that runs through the names of his books. The interesting thing about the Little Red Book of Selling, which I thought was an interesting book, but I actually haven't read it in a long time. And the only thing that's really stuck with me about that book is the way that he organized it. It made it so easy on the eyes just to look at, to read, to skim through it. And that really impacted the way that I think about structuring content, like laying it out in a way that makes sense. And so just make sure that you do that. If you're, think about the woods and think about that analogy. And if you look at your chiropractic website and you're just like, man, there's just a lot going on here and there's no clear path, that's not good. Clearly communicate value that you offer. Use the words that patients use. It's just a good practice. Don't say like, we help you reach your fullest health potential. It's like nobody's going to your website hoping that you help them reach their fullest health potential. Like they're not doing that. So you use patient words. Add trust signals. So things like reviews, photos of yourself with people, with real people, photos of your staff, video introductions, even social media. Even if you're not a big social media person, putting content on your social media that makes you come across like a real human being. And I don't mean that, like, I am not a fan of like canned content on social media. Like if you're just having you're paying someone to put like Einstein quotes and other stuff on your social media, like stop doing that. It's not helping. But if you're, put a picture of yourself, put a picture of your office, put a picture of something you're doing, like whatever, even if you're not very good at social media, you could communicate that, you could build trust through social media without, is one of the ways of building trust so that people come to you and they feel confident that they found the right chiropractor. Make it easy for people, to schedule. I'm not a big fan of using email. Like I know years ago, that was the common thing where it's like people could fill out this form and request an appointment. I have some website clients that still do that, but I try to tell people, look, texting and online scheduling are definitely better, like way better options than even the phone or email. Now I would rank them as texting and online scheduling is sort of like 1A, 1B, sort of the same idea that I think they're really good options for getting people to schedule. I would say phone is next, and distant, way down the alley, like maybe not even consider doing it, is email. Because the problem with email is like people email you and then you try to call them back and they don't answer their phone, or you try to email them back and they don't respond because they don't check their emails and they have 3,000 unread messages. Email's not a great way to schedule new patients. And so when I say make it easy for people, those are some things to think about. If that's the best option you have, it's better than nothing, but I'm not a huge fan. What are my closing thoughts? My big closing thought is the same thing I tell you guys all the time. Unrealistic expectations is a freaking killer. And so if you are expecting to look at your chiropractic website stats, whether you're doing your own website or somebody else is doing it for you, and see 1,000 people, visit your website and 250 of them schedule an appointment, that's ridiculous. That's just not how it works. The numbers are much, much lower. And obviously if you're meeting people and you have warm contacts and everything else, those numbers should be much higher, like drastically higher. But the website itself, I don't think it's helpful for any of us to be looking at visitors on the website, looking at our raw numbers of clients, patients, whatever, and coming to any sort of conclusions from that. I think that's probably a really bad way to look at stats and look at your website. So that's it, guys. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for commenting, for sharing the podcast with other chiropractors. If you would like to work together, go to Rocket Chiro and reach out to me. I'd be happy to help you however I can. And if I can't help you, I will send you somewhere, or at least try to make a good referral that you can get the help that you need. I'm done. I'm out of here. I'll talk to you guys on the next episode. See ya.